rebellion. Don't get upset when hard times come. Don't believe that I'm not with you because life gets hard. That affects everybody in this room. I don't know, you're a liar if you say it doesn't. It affects everybody in this room. And the devil knows it. And you know he knows it because you have an example in the Word of how he uses it against you. Jesus. If you're the Son of God, why don't you turn those stones into bread? Because surely if you're with God, you wouldn't be out here starving. But Jesus, the only human being, and I say human being so you understand, he did not do this as God. He did this as man. So what he did wouldn't be a sham to redeem man. Amen. Jesus knew his Father's ways. And when he heard the liar saying, your Father must not be with you because of your circumstances, if you're really with him, if you're truly the Son of God, why don't you do this and prove it? Jesus, knowing his Father's way, said, this ain't nothing. This is how my Father does it. My Father has ordained that man rule creation. He won't get involved. He's given me the grace to get involved. So he didn't listen. He could easily have turned stones into bread, guys. Easily. But he heard the voice of the liar saying, well, your Father must not be with you. You notice every one of those temptations is the same kind of thing, right? If you're Jesus knew he's the Son of God. But how does God get to you? What do you need to hear in his voice today? I mean, how does Satan get to us? Right? You're having hard times. God must not be with you. Things don't look right. God must not be with you, right? Don't harden your hearts. Don't get mad and say, God, I don't understand why you're putting us through this. I don't understand why you don't take care of this. Because I'm going to teach you something. This is God's way, and the church has not taught this, unfortunately, and it's a travesty. And many of them call this a heresy. But I'm going to tell you, they can't prove it. The way of God is that he gave men dominion in creation. And the reason God doesn't get involved like we would think he would every time something bad happens is the same thing he told Paul about the thorn in his flesh. You remember? Most people don't understand that. Oh, most people interpret that as, well, Paul, you're just going to have to struggle. Just suffer, right? My grace is enough for you, Paul. Struggle. You're misreading what grace is. Grace is supernatural gifting from God. Paul, you're asking me to remove your thorn. You haven't learned my ways. My way is that I'm outside creation. You're my image in creation. Use the grace I've given you, Paul, and affect your situation. Didn't I say in Genesis 1:26, make man in my image and let man reign? What's God's way? And you hear me, if you've been to this church the last 12 years, 100 times I've said, the saddest thing about Christians is that instead of taking the authority God's given, they curl up in the corner and start saying, God, are you with me? God, help me. And you see it angers God. And you know what he says about people that preach that and live like that? You will never enter my rest. And by the way, people don't understand that either. They literally think God's being punitive and mad at you. He's not. God has a little more patience than people do. He's telling the truth. As long as you will not learn my ways, you cannot enter the rest that I have set in motion. Because you keep asking me to do these things, and I've put it in your hands by my Spirit. I can't come to your rescue if you won't learn the way it works. Does that make sense?